Hey guys, due to popular demand, I am making this video about my settings in Final Forces. This video should help you to understand every setting, fine-tune them to improve your gameplay, and learn how to improve your FPS while playing on console. If you think I've missed anything, feel free to let me know in the comments. Now on to the video. And toggle ragdolls, you can change however you want. Bullet holes, very useful to have on, know if you're wall banging or not. Roblox particles you can disable. First person bullet casings, that is up to you. Disable or enable. I keep it enabled. Then you want to keep your most of your HUD open. You can disable chat since it's not useful on console. Night cycle, personal preference. Shadows, you want this disabled, especially on older consoles because this tanks your frames, and shaders as well. Both just make your game much darker. Third person muzzle flashes, that's up to you. If you may gain some more frames in an older console by disabling it, but it's useful for see where an enemy is shooting around the corner. Third person camo skins, not really necessary. Lobby weapon walls, you might as well disable this because it disables the annoying in-game background music as well when you join a lobby. Then your GUI skill, not really much to say about that. Up to you. There's not much about this at all. Forgot to mention for graphics quality, you want to set this to manual, and for older consoles you want to set this as low as physically possible without ruining your render distance, because the lower this gets, the less you'll see on long range maps. It'll just stop loading, so just try and mess around with it. It might be different numbers depending on the map. For close range map you could get away with a lot lower than a long range map, and this will improve your FPS on older consoles. But for new consoles you can just keep it at 9 because that's the highest quality without anti-aliasing at 10, which is not what you want in an FPS game. Now to the settings. Got the field of view. I like to use anything between 90 and 120. It's really up to you. I'm using 105 right now. It's a good sweet spot. But anything within 90 to 120 is like normal range, it's useful. Invert y-axis, don't know why you'd want that. Dynamic stance, that's personal preference. Direct angular input, you want this disabled. It's kind of broken on controller. It might not even work, but on mouse and keyboard is a very annoying feature. Sprint toggle, double tap sprint, these are up to you. On a controller, they're on keyboard. Then for controller, we have the look sensitivity power. This was added in the just after the July 4th update in 2022, where just as like a fix, because they changed the way console sensitivity what was input, and it ruined a lot of people's sensitivities, so they had to fix it. So what this does is that it lets you trade precision on big inputs, like if your stick is a full tilt, or for more precision smaller inputs, and the higher this goes, the more precision you lose with those big inputs, and the more you gain with the small inputs, and vice versa. I found that 1.5 to 1.6 gives you the perfect setting for pre-July the 4th update. So you want to keep it at this if you were playing around that time and you want your old settings back. Then for controller look sensitivity, I use a 2.5. That's just a rounding error. It's just what I've been using for years. Aim sensitivity, 1. I keep this at 1, which means The aim sensitivity multiplier means that it is 1-to-1 with my hipfire sensitivity. So my hipfire sensitivity is exactly the same as my aim sensitivity. So I like this, some people won't, some people will, depends. 1 is my sweet spot. Then I have both accelerations max, because so there's no ramp up time. So it's always consistent raw input. You can mess around with these if you want, it's personal preference. Like all the sensitivity, my sensitivity will not make you better at the game. But if you want to copy it and give it a go, by all means. Controller curve deceleration, this was also added in the same update as controller power. This makes your movement speed slow down a little when you change your direction the stick is tilting in. This can improve your accuracy if you're changing the direction in which you are turning. So basically it's like acceleration but in the opposite way, deceleration. This is by default at 1, but I believe you put this down to 0 if you want pre-July 4th 2022 settings. And I don't think it really impacts the game too much, but you can mess around with it. Vertical multiplier, this means 0.5 is the default, and it's what I'm used to. Means exactly my vertical sense is exactly half of my horizontal sense, which can be helpful. If you want a trick shot on console, this is a very useful setting, because the lower you put this, the more consistency you're going to have in your spins, since you're not going to overshoot by accidentally looking up or down with the stick. And the dead zone, this is the default dead zone of 0.25. Usually the lower the dead zone the better in almost all cases. So if your controller can handle a lower dead zone than this without drift, do it. It's almost always better.